Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea, one that can totally change how you see your own emotional world. It's called the window of tolerance.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like a tiny, insignificant stressor just triggers this massive reaction inside you? Or maybe on the flip side, sometimes you just feel, well, numb, disconnected? If any of that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. And it turns out there's a framework that explains exactly what's going on in your mind and body in those moments.
So let's get into why this happens. The most important thing to get right off the bat is that these intense feelings, they aren't some kind of personal failing. They're a completely natural biological response.
Really, at its core, this is all about survival. When your nervous system senses a threat, and that could be a real, present danger or even just a painful memory, it kicks into high gear to protect you. So those huge reactions, the sudden shutdowns, that's just your body's ancient built-in system for self-preservation doing its job.
All right, so this brings us to the main event, the central concept for today. It's a metaphor, really, but one that can totally change how you think about your own emotional state. It's called the window of tolerance.
This term was actually coined by psychiatrist Dr. Dan Siegel. He uses it to describe that sweet spot, that optimal zone where you feel balanced, in control, and you can function at your best. When you're inside this window, you can handle life's ups and downs. You can think clearly, you can manage your feelings, and you can connect with other people.
And this visual shows it perfectly. Right there in the middle, you've got that green sweet zone. This is where you feel calm, present, engaged. But when stress starts to push you up, you can enter hyperarousal. That's your fight or flight zone. And if stress pushes you down, you can enter hypoarousal. That's the zone where you freeze or collapse.
This quote from psychologist Dr. Brian Joe just nails the difference. See, when your window is wide, you have resilience. You can navigate challenges without completely losing it. But when that window is narrow, even tiny little stressors can feel like a huge threat, pushing you right out of that calm green zone.
So what causes this window to shrink in the first place? Well, the number one factor is trauma.
When you go through something traumatic, your nervous system can get completely overwhelmed. It can get kind of stuck in survival mode. And this isn't just a mental thing. It's a deep physiological disruption that can actually reshape your ability to handle stress long after the event is over. And when trauma is ongoing, or it's repetitive, what experts call complex trauma, the effects are even more profound. Dr. Joe points out that in childhood, it can actually stunt a person's emotional development. And in adulthood, it makes it incredibly difficult to function consistently in relationships or at work, because your system is just so easily thrown off balance.
Okay, so what does it actually feel like when you get pushed outside your window? Let's break down the signs. You can think of it in two main ways. On one side, you have hyperarousal. This is your body's fight or flight response cranked up to 11. This is where you might feel that intense anger or fear, have racing thoughts, or just feel constantly on edge. And then on the other side, you have hypoarousal. This is your body's shutdown response. This is where you feel numb, disconnected, maybe even completely drained of energy.
So just remember this, your body basically has two main emergency exits when it feels overwhelmed. It can either rev way up into overdrive, or it can shut all the way down. And just recognizing which one tends to be your go-to is a huge first step.
Now, here's the most important part, the really hopeful part. This is not a permanent state. You absolutely can learn to widen your window. So let's talk about how.
The entire foundation for widening your window is self-regulation, and it all begins with awareness. So step one is just to get curious. Start to notice what your triggers are. And then step two is to mindfully observe how your body and your emotions react when those triggers show up. And this part is key. You got to do it without judging yourself for it.
So if you find yourself in that hyper-aroused, high-energy state, here are some tools you can use. Breathing exercises, for example, directly calm your nervous system. Purposeful movements, like even just pushing your hands against a wall, can help release all that pent-up energy. And grounding techniques, like the 5-4-3-2-1 method, pull your focus right back to the safety of the present moment.
A simple posture like child's pose is a perfect example of this. It's what's called a somatic practice, which is just a fancy way of saying it uses your body to influence your mind. It helps release tension, and it creates a physical feeling of safety, which sends a direct signal of all clear to your nervous system.
But what if you're on the other side, in that numb, shut-down state? Well, the goal here is gentle activation. Just standing up, maybe jumping a little, or even just tensing and then relaxing your muscles can help bring some energy back into your body. Engaging your senses, like smelling something strong or touching a rough texture, can also help pull you back into the here and now.
But look, widening your window isn't just about what you do in the moment. It's also about building a more resilient foundation over time. And this is where consistent self-care becomes totally non-negotiable. Prioritizing sleep, nutrition, regular movement, and connecting with people, it all adds up. And of course, getting professional support isn't a last resort, it's a powerful tool in your toolbox.
This quote from Dr. Joe really brings it all home. At the end of the day, the goal of all this work is to heal. It's about restoring your ability to feel safe enough to be fully present in your own life right here and right now. So, I'll leave you with this question. It doesn't have to be some huge, dramatic change. Maybe it's just pausing for 3 deep breaths, or noticing one thing you can see and touch right now. What's one small step you can take today to check in with your window?